Warning, warning, citizens of Kenosha County. Warning, warning, citizens of Kenosha County. You are approaching the red zone. KRED is on the air. Welcome to KRED.
Are you? Who the gave you that agency?
Well,
because I know it wasn't Jesus Christ.
Charlie Kirk, and this is Riley Gaines.
You're that
and
guy
nice
from,
to meet you.
I thought you were the guy from South Park. I thought you were the Terrence and Phillip. That's who the I thought you were.
Well, you seem pleasant. Are you married? Are you married?
Was your mom married?
Are you married?
Because I got a call from the doctor. She missed her abortion.
You seem so sweet. Does anyone love you in your life?
Charlie, you seem so stiff and white. Do you have a stick up your ass?
Is there something wrong with being white?
Charlie, is there something wrong with a stick in your ass? Is what I'm asking.
No, I'm enjoying this whole thing you got going on.
Hey, Charlie.
Jesus fed people for free, taught people for free, and healed people for free. Why don't we do the same?
Churches should.
Churches should? Okay. Well,
Anyone out there, you guys should get involved with Turning Point USA. You should start a Turning Point USA chapter. You should get involved with Turning Point Action. We are moving the dial. We are bringing this generation to the finish line to be a conservative generation.
Today, we're going to talk to Mr. Gary Plassmeyer of Turning Point Action. Hey, Gary, welcome to KRED.
Hey, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, hey, Gary, so Turning Point Action. Everybody's heard of Turning Point USA. Some people have heard of Turning Point Faith. What is and the purpose of Turning Point Action?
Yeah, so Turning Point Action's the political arm of the Turning Point ecosystem, and basically what it is, it's a grassroots organization that we get out, we get into local counties, and we look to build relationships with the local GOPs, with the elected officials, with the with the county executives. Look to get out there. Like I said, building relationships is what we do. And then from there, we see what the counties are struggling with potentially, or what they might need help with, or how Turning Point can, come alongside and assist, right? Like at the end of the day, the goal for us is to win elections. And I feel like that's the goal of the GOP in general. So that's what we're here to do: help identify up and coming candidates, help win elections, and grow the conservative movement together.
How did Turning Point Action go about wanting to make a change in local elections? I noticed you mentioned local elections. Would you agree everything starts local? I mean, everything starts local. Would you agree with that statement?
Totally agree with that, man. And that's why I got involved, relatively new to the political arena, but that's why I got involved, because it really starts at the local level. And that local level can lead up to a county level. The county level can lead up to a state level, and the state level can lead up to the national level. So if you're able to activate that grassroots at that core local level, you're able to do a lot of really good things for this country.
No, I agree. And you sent me a text over the weekend, and you sent me a text from where?
I was at the Kenosha County GOP fair booth at the Kenosha County Fair with your lovely wife, by the way. You're a lucky man, bro. I'm sure she tries to keep you in line. I don't know if she does very well or not, but
I'm going to tell you what about my wife. There is no me without a her. Anybody who knows us, I am on the GOP board in Kenosha County, and we are a package deal, and I'm sure she's the better part of the package, so there's no doubt about that.
I got one of those too, man. I got one of those too.
So being at the Kenosha County Fair, obviously, that is getting in depth, right? That is getting in deep with local politics. What are some of the things that you found out when you were at the Kenosha County Fair, or did you find anything out, or what was your purpose of being there?
So again, it's just my goal or my objective as Turning Point, and as in my business background too. I mean, this is what I do at a core level. It's building relationships, it's adding value, and then again working those relationships and seeing where it can go long term, right? Like there's got to be some kind of trust when you come into a relationship. So your wife, without even really knowing me, she heard through the grapevine a little bit that who I was, but she trusted me enough to be able to come in and run a shift. And that was all about just understanding who's there, meeting everybody. There's a lot of people, obviously, right? Like I'm not sure we'll get into it now, but Kenosha is not the only county that I'm responsible for with Turning Point. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of personalities. So just getting in and building those relationships and seeing how we can help uh, is the core of who I am and what we do. So, as far as Kenosha County in general, yeah, I mean, I got to meet your wife. I was texting her a bunch. First time I met her, amazing lady. She did a amazingly ridiculous job with that fair booth. And very impressed with that. I've done 5 or 6 county fairs this summer, and that was by far one of the better ones. So I was impressed with that. And then, yeah, got me thinking of you. And then we met. I don't know what we meet at the a parade, I think, right?
Parade. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I think the first time I met you was at the parade
And
in
I saved your
Kenosha.
number. I was like, I'm hitting up Brian, and here we are.
Yeah, and this leads to this, and of course it's like you say, it's building the relationships. I, of course, and maybe you did not know, I am the candidate recruitment person for the
Mhm.
Kenosha GOP. Now, KRED is its own entity; it's its own. It's not. It's. I make reference to the GOP, but I in no way do I speak for the Kenosha GOP. But I am on the board, and I do candidate recruitment.
Mm.
But we'll get back to that here in a minute. So you mentioned that this was the fifth county fair you were at. So I take it you have other areas that you're responsible for since you made it to 5 county fairs. What are the other areas that you're responsible for?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much just responsible for. I have 4 counties that I'm responsible for: Racine, Kenosha, Walworth, and Jefferson. We do have other Turning Point reps that we help each other out, right? Like a couple of them are on some county boards. One was in Ozaki, Waukesha, and they're everybody's always looking for volunteers. So we tend to help each other out whenever we can. So I did Ozaki, I did Waukesha, I did Racine, I did Kenosha, I did Milwaukee, and I think those were the 5 that I did.
Did you go up to State Fair at all?
Yeah, we were at the state fair. That was the Milwaukee County, right? That's the one. So the state
Yeah,
fair
yeah, okay.
before it got rained out. Yeah, we got a day in.
Yeah, yeah. Did you know
Wild.
anybody get hit by some of that rain? That was crazy.
It was crazy. I live in Muskego, man, and we got another 3 inches the other day.
Wow.
It's like it's just been brutal. But yeah, I've known a bunch of people that have lost a lot, man. That's just sad.
It is sad, and the devastation, all that is just, man. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so Turning Point Action. When you
Hmm.
were at these different county fairs, do you introduce yourself as, "Hey, I'm Gary Plassmeyer, representative of Turning Point Action," or do you kind of fit in with the rest of the group that you're working with? How exactly do you go about, and then what is your mission while you're there? I know you said to make contacts and to see all the different subjects, but what do you get to, or do you point out that you're from Turning Point Action, and then when they find that out, do you encourage them?
Yeah, so I typically lead with it, because Turning Point, especially with inside the Republican Party and especially in Wisconsin, it's known, right? People know who Turning Point is. So it's a little disingenuous, I feel like, if I just come in and just be me, and then few days later, be like, oh, by the way, I'm Turning Point. Sometimes you can get a little side eye on that, right? People they like to know who you are and why you're there. So I lead with it, tell them who I am, Turning Point, and usually it goes pretty well. And then, again, I just lean in and how can I help? What are we doing? What are we up to? Turning Point's big hot buttons are recruiting Recruiting coalition leads. So you mentioned faith, right? So
Mhm.
Turning Point's got a lot of different coalitions. It's got men's coalitions, faith coalition, Healthy American coalition. So we look for people to identify who might want to get involved that way. But another huge part of what we do is voter registration. We're always looking to make sure people are registered to vote. So a lot of times when I'm at these booths, people walking by, hey, you registered to vote, hey, you registered to vote, hey, you registered to vote, right? Like we picked up a few voters at Racine County Fair just by talking to a few people. And typically, man, there's 30 to 45% of Republicans. I don't know where this stat came from. This is a stat that Turning Point gave me, but 30 to 40% of Republicans who have like Trump gear or Trump signs aren't even registered to vote.
It is amazing to me in these modern eras that we live in, with all the different pipelines to information that you have, that there are still
Mhm.
people that have not registered the vote. I could tell you story after story, and I'm sure you've have story after
Oh,
story.
man, yeah.
We had a candidate who is a quote nonpartisan candidate, but very much a Republican. Um, their relatives was the first time they had ever voted, and these weren't young people. Okay,
Mm.
and but thank God they did, because that candidate won by one vote. And those of you who are in the KRED audience, you know who I'm talking of. And what's amazing to me is, man, just talking and getting one candidate, then registering that person to vote, and then that guy wins by one vote. That shows you the importance of, obviously, voting and registering to vote. So it is amazing to me that there's some rock stars. And like you say, when you look on the other side of the bench, you're like, you have no one. However, we can't take that for granted, because
Correct.
we saw what happened in the prior 4 years, and the people that have won. We see how they are doing everything they can to skew maps and so on and so forth, to push these people into there, and places and organizations like Turning Point Action. Um, we need these organizations. Scott Pressler
Mm.
does a great job recruiting people to get people to sign up to vote and so on and so forth. So when you look at these other people, that goes to show you the battle we're up against, because just 2020 by itself, the what I would consider stealing of our last election. Do you think that election of 2020, it sure seems to me that had to spark this Turning Point Action thing?
Yeah. So it was a big motivator and a big part of why it scaled and grew, because the Turning Point Action actually started in 2019, right before that election,
Okay.
right? And part of that was to get out. There's actually two parts of Turning Point Action: chase the vote side, where you have managers and teams that go and knock doors and chase votes, and then you have the legacy side, which I'm on, which goes and builds relationships in the Republican Party. So it started as, let's go, let's knock some doors, let's get out there, let's start chasing the vote. And then, yeah, after that 2020 election, I feel like, I mean, I've only been a part of Turning Point for about a year, but I feel like that fueled the fire in a huge way. And then Charlie's presence started growing exponentially online. He got most of his views from like Instagram and TikTok and X. That's where he grew his presence with the younger crowd, and it
Right.
just took on a mind of its own. And the next thing you know, I mean, they were raising, nine figures to get out there and make sure that 24, we didn't have a repeat in 24.
And obviously, with the efforts of Turning Point Action, and again, I mentioned others, including everybody in the local parties. I know us as the local party here in Kenosha County. Man, groundwork was laid a long time ago by folks. I mean, Kenosha County at one time was solidly blue, tending towards purple. Now it's really starting to turn more red. Hence the reason KRED. If you go west of the I here in Kenosha County, it is
Mhm.
pretty much a red county. The other side of the eye is very much purple. This the east side where I live is very much still purple, but tending towards that red. So the importance of getting out there to stop something like you say of the 2020 fiasco that we ran into is seriously important. Now, a couple times you have mentioned where we can help. Where have you found that Turning Point Action is going to be or can be in the future the most help? You've said this a couple times now. Where we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
help, where can you
yeah.
help? Where have you found? Where have you been asked to help?
So again, we're masters at activating constituents into getting involved into coalitions and then getting them registered to vote. So that's where we like to live, right? And then we turn that into the Chase the Vote program on top of it. But outside of that, I mean, Turning Point's just a wealth of resources, right? I mean, it goes all the way up to Charlie, and Charlie's got ties to the presidency, right? And then it comes down to the more local level. So our director of Turning Point Action is here in Waukesha. So we have an office in Waukesha and we have one in Arizona. So part of what we do, especially during elections, yeah, we like to be able to identify and help. Like, hey, this person is an up and comer in the space, and then if they're not introduced to the parties already, the local county parties, make some introductions for them at that level. But we also get out there and we do what's called super chases when there's elections going on. I don't know if you've seen these. I don't know if you've heard of these or not, but we get a group of people together, get them in a park or a business or whatever it might be, and then we can bring some local officials around that, and get everybody motivated to go out and knock doors as a team. So then we're pushing the overall conservative agenda as a whole. So then you got 20, 30, 40 people out there uh, helping each other as a whole, right? Like just getting
Right.
out and getting it done. We do some other stuff too. We put events together. And again, I'm pretty new to this side of the role. I was part of the Chase the Vote team before, but we'll get in and we'll do some educational stuff. We're working on a Robert's Rule training. So activate somewhere, get some people in there. I'm learning what Robert's Rules means, obviously. Constitutional training. And some counties are different, right? Like there's been working a little bit with somebody in another county, and she's asking, hey, how do we get this faith coalition started? We want to be able to live our faith through the conservative values. So we're going to go in and we're going to get a group of people together and see how we can activate that. So a lot of resources with inside Turning Point in general, man. Again, it goes all the way up almost to the top to where we can lean into those and use those because that's what it was built for. It was built to run alongside the Republican Party.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's like Democratic Party. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think a place and people like Turning Point Action, obviously they've only been around, you said, since 2019, for 6 short years, but the damage of 50 years worth of democratic policies and so on and so forth is a hard thing. And then you're fighting against don't discuss religion and politics. And now here comes Charlie Court and Turning Point Action for such a time as this. It's amazing. And Donald Trump is proof of all of that, where we're going as a country and where we could end up when Donald Trump leaves. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think
Absolutely, man.
Turning Point Action has that. It seems to me, as you're speaking to me about what the organization does and has done, has that goal in mind. And I think that's where Charlie Kirk sits, is he understood and maybe was enlightened in some way about you got to be just as fervent about being a Republican and carrying those values and carrying the values of America. And I think it's a great thing that you guys are doing. So do you offer to counties like different speakers? Like you say, Turning Point has access to all kinds of people, all kinds of organizations. Is that something that you help counties do as well? Like you say you do these, what did you call them? Some kind of a chase the vote rallies
Robert's
or whatever.
Rule.
Robert's
The
rules
super
and all those
chases.
kind of, yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you do during those? Do you kind of bring in speakers so people can go see, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we've done that in the past. Like the super chase is usually smaller groups of 30 or 40. And then, we'll find some local elected officials who want to come and be a part of it and say a few words and, do the rah rah and introduce themselves to everybody, right? Like most politicians like being in rooms anyway and talking to people. So
Right.
that's a good thing. But yeah, more at a regional and a national level. I mean, Charlie and Don Jr. were here in March before the Supreme Court election, right? And they were in Oconomowoc, and they did an event in Oconomowoc, and they packed that. They put, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 people in this little tiny space,
Right.
and they pulled it off within a couple weeks.
Right.
So they're not afraid to activate anybody, really. But yeah, I mean, we're very well connected, and I say we as Turning Point. I mean, I'm still learning the ropes a little bit.
Right.
I'm more of the regional guy, but we're always looking to see what kind of event or what kind of who we might be able to bring in to attract a larger crowd to be able to do everything we just said we wanted to do. Activate coalition members, register voters, work with the Republican Party to identify the up and comers. I mean, that's a big part of what we do. Yeah, there's a huge how do I word it? There's just a huge pool. There's a huge pool of resources that Turning Point's built over the years. Charlie, and I don't know if you know this, man, but Charlie started with a card table and a poster board and a chair going to the University of Wisconsin-Madison when he was 18 with a sign on it that said "Debate Me." That's how he started, and he turned it into what it is, right? Like, that's
Right.
pretty incredible.
Right.
So I got to give the guy some kudos. I mean, he definitely attracts the right people. But a big part of that is wearing it all on his sleeve. I mean, he says who he is, and he lives it on a daily basis, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of what you got to do in this, especially today. I feel like in this political environment.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. What are some of the and I've heard of some, and I won't. What are some of the hesitations that you have seen, or have you seen hesitations from different? And I don't want to put you on the spot, Andy, but counties or
No, you're fine.
whatever. I'm not asking for that in particular or any one in particular, but has there been some hesitation from counties in trusting Turning Point?
There has been, yeah, there has been a little bit of friction. I mean, Charlie's such an outspoken individual, right? And his purpose is to win elections, right? His purpose is to activate as many voters as possible, get as many coalition members and board members as possible, and get everybody rowing in the same direction. Every now and then there's somebody inside a county or inside an elected official's office somewhere that it doesn't sit well with. And yeah, I mean, there's been some headbutting at times, and that's another thing where Charlie, again, he'll wear it on his sleeve. He's like, "Well, this is what we're here to do, so let's go do it together because we're going to continue to do it." So that's the Turning Point ethos, and again, it can rub some people the wrong way sometimes. I mean, I get it, I understand it. There's tons of personalities, and inside politics, it's like the personalities are amplified times 10 because people hold on to it even harder, even closer, right? Even more, more so, like I said, to the heart. So, yes, absolutely. And I feel like if you're doing things the right way, you're going to ruffle some feathers
Yeah.
in general. If you need to make some changes, if you're losing tons of elections, if your state is as wishy-washy as ours is, there's some feelings that might get hurt over time, and that's just part of the process.
Yeah, and politics is strange. I've thrown my hat in the ring twice now running for office. It's an interesting to say the least. Of course, I'm asked if I'm going to do it again or whatever, and my answer is always the same. I don't know. Because I don't have to be a politician. I have zero interest on being a politician, but I do want to be a servant. And if the Lord wants me to serve in such a capacity, so I will. But I think with Turning Point, because it is still relatively new, I mean, 6 years is nothing in the age of politics anymore, even though Charlie's been doing it since he was 18. If the organization itself, and I think that's what ruffles feathers, right? It's because, who are these new kids on these Johnny-come-latelys who are coming into our organization when we've been doing X, Y, Z for a long time? I mean, heck, we had Republican wins a long time ago, long before Turning Point Action comes here. So I'm sure when you come into an area, especially like Wisconsin, go back to the Tommy Thompson era. I grew up here in Wisconsin, so I mean, and I don't think there's any better of a politician that I've seen to this day than Tommy Thompson. That dude can get a room rallied up. Tommy wears it on his sleeve. He's all about, rallying the Republicans and doing all this. So I can appreciate that. But the flip side of the coin is I can see also how, a young group like Turning Point would kind of scare those people. And I don't think that's Turning Point's goal at all, is to scare anybody. It sounds to me like you guys want to work together with people and introduce a new generation into politics. Is that a fair assessment?
It's absolutely accurate, man. Absolutely 100%. So they got this philosophy. It's called the Mount Vernon Project, they call it, right? And it goes all the way back to George Washington. And George Washington didn't want anything to do with what he did. They kept coming to him and like, you're the guy who needs to run this country. He's like, I don't want to do this, man. I want to go kick it with Martha and just live my life.
Right.
And they're like, you have to do this. So we need you to do this. Nobody else can do this. And he's like, okay. So Turning Point's got that same mindset, that same philosophy. They call it the Mount Vernon Project. It's like, no, it's like you don't want to be a politician, but God might tell you you're going to be a politician.
Right.
I'm in the same boat, right?
Right.
And that's where it comes from Charlie and the team too. It's like, man, we don't necessarily want to be doing all this because it's dirty. Guys like Charlie and Tyler Boyer, who's the COO, and Brett Galashevsky. I mean, these guys get death threats, right? Like they get. Which is crazy to me, but it's for a greater goal and purpose.
Yeah.
And it's to clean up this country and turn it into what it used to be and keep it there and hold it there. You made a comment earlier. It's like, just because we are where we are doesn't mean we take our foot off the gas pedal, basically. We got to keep pushing, man. We got to keep driving. We got to keep activating. We got to keep growing. And that's what is most encouraging to me with Turning Point. But yeah, it's Mount Vernon Project, man. It's like we don't necessarily want to be here, but we're here because we know we need to be here. And this is the greatest country that's ever been created. Yeah. And if you take that for granted, it's going to be gone.
And the Founding Fathers knew at the time that this experiment could very well go wrong. And you look at all of the parameters that they put in there, we get a whole history lesson and discuss all that in and of itself. I've read the Federalist Papers, not all of them, not all at once, but I have studied and seen enough of the Federalist Papers that the goal of holding together a union yet keeping a separation with the states is an amazing thing in and of itself. And they realized how fragile that could actually be. And I think more to the point, the fragility is in the people. It's not necessarily it's the people that are in the political game that make it real fragile. But here's where I see Turning Point Action and just what you're describing to me. Like I said, getting those people, those George Washingtons, those maybe not so into the political game to kind of get into the political game based on their own personalities. Or maybe they don't even realize it. Maybe they don't even realize. That's kind of what I do when I talk to people about running for office. I don't think they even fully realize what they could do. I think they always look at politics as being something, well, that's something somebody else does. And I think that stems from the career politicians that we have in the United States, which I would argue wasn't the intent of the Founding Fathers at all. And so I think when we see these type of things, and you look at what the Founding Fathers did, the Mount Vernons, the George Washingtons, how much stuff did these guys have to give up? I mean, you look at the signers of the Declaration of Independence itself, They lost their farm, they lost their kids, they lost so much. And we've been spoiled by that. And when you don't, as a normal citizen or a normal everyday person, step up to run for office, you're going to fill the gap with the guy who wants to be there for 40 years. And so that's partly our fault. So people like Turning Point Action and Charlie Kirk obviously see that, and sounds to me like they want to encourage it. And so maybe this ruffling of feathers and reluctance to accept Turning Point Action comes from those who are threatened because they want to remain in power for that 30, 40 years for whatever reason. Because let's face it, power corrupts. And so if you're hanging on to something because it's so powerful to you, maybe that's the time for you to step down, because are you doing it for you or are you doing it for the people? And that's what I tell the people that are coming up. If this is about you and about what you want to do, then maybe that's not the reason to do it. But if this is about you wanting to do for the people and being their servant, that's the person we need. Does that make sense?
That's yes, and we need a lot more of it, man. And again, that's why I'm here too. I didn't ask for this; it showed up.
Yeah.
So I looked at it as a sign, man. Like, all right, let's go. What's it going to look like? I don't know. I've never been a politician. Don't plan on being a politician.
Right.
Might wind up with an elected seat somewhere. I still don't plan on being a politician at that point in time. I plan on, I plan on doing what God wants me to do, steward it, and just help, man. Like help the whole,
Yeah.
help the whole get to
Well,
where we need to go.
Is it safe to say that you are a believer and a believer? When I say to you, are you a believer? Is it safe to say you're a believer in Jesus Christ?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
And
100%,
He is your Lord and Savior
all day long, man.
all day, every day. So I'll give you one fair warning from one brother to another. I'm going to tell you this: if the Lord so leads you to run, it's never about the thing you're running for. It's about the peripherals that are coming along with it. More to the point, just understand the reason why you are running.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's because he wants you to, that is a good enough reason. Does that make sense?
Amen.
So Turning Point Action then comes into Wisconsin, rubs and ruffles a little bit of feathers, and Charlie Kirk says to you, all right, Gary, we've experienced some things. Keep pressing forward because the goal is all about winning elections for the Republican Party. Is that a fair assessment? I mean, let me put it to you this way. Turning Point Action isn't looking to create a new party or a new...
Correct.
In Wisconsin, in Arizona, in wherever they end up, they're looking to bolster the already existing Republican Party. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, absolutely. Run alongside in parallel. The left does it all the time, man. The left might not like each other, but they all work together, man. They're thick as thieves over there. But they work together, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's a little issue. There's always been a little bit of problems with that on the Republican side. There's always been a little bit of headbutt, man. They don't want to start a new party at all, but they will lead if it's called upon them to do so.
Yeah, and
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And this is, I think, where sometimes in any organization, that's the rub, right? When called upon to do so, well, I don't hear anybody being called. That's what you're going to get. Well, no one told me about this, and no one. I mean, I've seen that. I worked in government, so I've seen that for myself. When the person doesn't believe so because they're so wanting to hang on to the old way of doing things and not really interested in the new way of doing things, and maybe it's an ageism thing, maybe it's whatever, but it's human nature. The resistance to that new person coming along, sends a message, the wrong message maybe. And now there's a lot of internal fighting, and we're not in a time like this. I say this all the time to people about politics, about Republicans and about Democrats. Republicans search for the sharpest sword they can find while getting killed with spoons. It's the craziest thing. They will absolutely, the Democrat Party, like you said, they will stick together as thick as thieves, bludgeon us with the dullest thing they have in their hand while we're, busy searching and fighting each other over here, and then we'll come back and fight over here, and we can't have that. So when a place like Turning Point Action comes along, I think it should be a great thing. However, and I'm sure you've seen it too, there are organizations in whatever party that are looking to usurp, and I think there is some of that. When Turning Point Action first came into Wisconsin, there was that, they're here to speak against this person or speak against that person and attack the Republican Party in this way. Have you seen that in the action in Turning Point Action at all?
No. I mean, we're not. The goal is to hold accountable. right? Like if there's something not getting done, right? And the numbers are going to speak for themselves, right? Go county by county. How many elections have each county won, right? How many people have been there for a long, long time, not getting the job done? I mean, that goes along with it as well. Again, we want to run alongside of everybody because we're stronger as a whole, right? That's the goal, is to run alongside. At the same time, there's going to be an accountability piece. And if it's not getting done, you can't, it's a definition of insanity, right? Like, oh, we lost another election. Oh, we lost another election. Oh, we lost another election. Oh, well, we're trying. Well, at some point, it's not about trying, man. It's about getting it done. And if you're not getting it done, then, that's why Turning Point was created. Charlie created it because it wasn't getting done, man. Charlie grew up in Illinois. He saw all about not getting done.
Yeah. He also watched.
So that motivated him.
Yeah, I remember years ago in the county right over the border from me in Illinois, it was a solidly red county. I mean, they had, conservative talk show hosts. They had, I mean, and just like that. It seemed just like that. And nothing is ever really just like that, right? It's a slow fade. It's a slow burn. It's a slow one of those. And I can see how it could happen here in Wisconsin. And you look at right now the way they want to change maps. I say all the time, though a lot of Illinois folks are moving up here to try to prevent that. Last election, I know the Republican Party had a lot of help from people from Illinois. You should have seen all the Illinois folks coming up here because they realized their counties slipped away and their state is on the verge of becoming California, Minnesota. And I'd argue it is the California of the Midwest. But I could easily see that bumping up into Wisconsin and coming this way, especially here in Southeast Wisconsin. So why shouldn't we accept the help of Turning Point Action? But again, I do see the rub, and I think the rub is just maybe misinformation. Let me ask you a question, and if I put you on the spot and you can't answer or don't whatever, I don't expect you to. But I have heard it said that really all Charlie Kirk wants is he just wants that information from the different parties because that those names and those numbers and those things are worth money. Right? When you get somebody's information, that's worth some money because you can turn that into, mailers and this, that, and the other thing. I haven't heard you say that once. And is it ever talked about? Hey, make sure you get X, Y, and Z information. There's none of that, is there?
No, I mean, again, I've never heard anything like that. And to your
Gary, so we've covered a lot of topics and we've covered a lot of things, and I'm sure we could talk forever, but I know you have to go. What are some of the things that you want the listeners and the watchers of KRED to know about you, Gary Plassmeyer, and your goals in Turning Point Action?
Well, like I said, man, I'm very new to politics. It's only been a little over a year. I was called to be in this position. We prayed on it. It popped up, right? I feel like I'm meant to be here helping whatever this new conservative movement looks like. I'm here to assist. I'm here to help. I'm here to build relationships. I'm here to add value. I mean, and whatever that looks like for the county parties or for the individuals in general, man. I mean, I'm a servant leader. That's how I've lived my entire life, and I just want to be able to build those relationships, man, and see where it can go. I mean, I get in there, and I think your wife can attest to this a little bit too. I've only worked with her a little bit, but I'm a pretty easy guy to get along with, and we're all here for the same reason, bro. I mean, we want to win elections, and we want to make sure our country doesn't turn into California.
Yeah. That says a mouthful because that's exactly right. And it could very well happen when you look at all the different things out there. Hey, Gary, I really want to thank you for coming on. I thank you for giving me the time to be able to do this. Turning Point Action is, I firmly believe, an organization for such a time as this. And I believe Charlie sensed that. And I believe, Gary, you've obviously picked up on that. You've said several times you've been called. I firmly believe you're going to answer that call. And I firmly believe you're going to rely on the Lord more than anything to serve in that role. And you can't go wrong doing that. Win, lose, or draw. If you're serving God, it's always going to be a win because it's going to be about him. So I firmly believe that. Thanks again for joining me, Gary. I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in to KRED. We're kicking off a whole new season here. I'll probably have Gary back on throughout the season to see where progress is made. We're going to have all kinds of local candidates and stuff on here. But Gary, thanks again. Thank you for watching KRED. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you again.
Attention, citizens. Attention, citizens. You are now leaving the red zone. You are now leaving the red zone. You've been listening to a broadcast of KRED.